I think what a lot of people don't understand is that there is a cyber war that's happening, right? Back and forth with China and every other country that wants to come at us. We have wars between different nations. And in the Middle East, that's a powder keg. It's always been a powder keg. But why that's so especially important is because Iran has nuclear weapons. It's that area is one of the biggest oil exports in the world. The consequences for that chaos and that uncertainty will trickle into our financial system in the form of fear. And institutions, governments, things like that, when they're fearful, they start to withdraw, liquidate, and move out of riskier asset classes. What's really fascinating, I think, that a lot of people don't know, and you and I have talked about this, is what's happening with the currency wars. And it's been called the Great Showdown, where you've got the East versus the West. You've got countries like China, Iran, Egypt, the BRIC nations. They're trading with each other. They are not using the dollar as its formal currency. They're trading with their own currencies, which ultimately could mean that the dollar as a global reserve currency is being dethroned. And I think that people are really wildly underestimating how fast these new trade agreements are being formed. How much trade is actually happening. These are emerging economies. India is now one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing economy in 2024. And so how do you see these BRIC nations, our trade, and how this affects our US dollar? Is this positive for the US dollar? Is this negative for the US dollar? What should people know about this?
So yeah, this is obviously terrible for the US dollar.
Mhm.
So basically, this goes back to the United States of America is the prettiest girl at the dance. Everybody's jealous of us. Everybody hates us. Everybody wants to bring us down. So we are the world's reserve currency right now. However, they don't want that to be. They don't want us to have all that power because if the United States is not the world's reserve currency, our currency will topple. There will be a meltdown like we can't even fathom. And so what these countries are starting to do is slowly starting to say, hey, you know what? We don't want to have to when we go buy oil, transfer into US dollars and then put the US dollars to you and again have the world's reserve currency be the US dollar. They're trying to bypass that. And they want to do that again to bring us down, to make our value or our dollars less valuable. Because when you're the world's reserve currency, guess what? You can print as much money as you want. And yes, it's still horrible. And it's still, as we know, with inflation, still caused our country a massive thing. But you can more get away with that printing of the money. But of course, those countries want to bring us down. They're already sick of all the money we're printing, devaluing them because they hold a lot of our dollars. So they're saying, hey, when I go buy goods or oil or whatever it might be, I'm just going to trade in our currencies. We're going to bypass the US dollar. And I was reading a statistic the other day. I can't remember what it is, but it showed how the last few years, the usage of the dollar as being traded is going down and down and down and down. Now, when you ask the government, when you talk to, Biden's administration, whoever, they're like, oh, the dollar's as strong as ever. Yes, it's gone down, but it's only, I'm just making this number up. It's just a fraction. It's just a tiny amount. When the U.S. government, somebody in the administration tells you don't have to be worried, you better be worried. I'll put it that way. I remember, and this is, fake news is everybody knows fake news these days, but I joined the CIA at age 23. I remember seeing something on the news and I actually knew what was going on. And I was like, wait a minute, they're not telling the truth. They're lying. They're saying the exact opposite. And as a 23-year-old kid, this is like a big light bulb. Like I'm not supposed to believe everything on TV. Of course, we know better now. So that is the problem is the Biden administration says things like, hey, we're going to be fine. We've only gone down a bit. Or they say, you know what? We're going to do the Biden digital dollar. This Biden digital, currency is going to be wonderful. It's what's going to save us, which again, if they say that, it's going to lead to tracking, it's going to lead to government control, and also going to make us more susceptible to hacking. So Biden is trying to obviously save face. He's trying to create this digital dollar, which is going to be a nightmare of all nightmare and hurt us all. So yes, we are. I think the best way to say is we're being attacked on all fronts, and it really is a nasty, nasty powder keg that we're in the middle of.
Yeah, it's certainly something that I think a lot of people are hoping for the best. And what I'm here to help people do is plan for the worst, right? And that's really what makes or breaks a lot of people's retirement accounts. It makes or breaks their legacy that they want to leave is getting prepared. And I think that the urgency today is higher than it's ever been as far as making sure that you're planning, preparing for some of these events.